So joining me is Alexander, who is very concerned about the tyranny that we're under. Thank you for joining me. What challenges have you experienced that is the most concerning?
Just not having choice. You know, you're expected to wear face masks. What's coming in the future? You know, the possibility of vaccines being forced upon people. Just all sorts of lack of choice.
What's your take on the faulty test kits and people that are put into a database, tracked and traced?
I don't like it. I don't like it. You know, they're just constant pressure, always putting you down, saying you're sick. When will it stop?
Yeah, that's the question. When will it stop? And people are required to scan QR codes in order to dine at restaurants. This is an invasion of privacy, isn't it?
Most definitely, yeah.
What's your thought on the police brutality that's taken place at many of these peaceful gatherings?
It's not on. It's not on. I mean, but they want us fighting with them, distracted, polarised. They want us fighting amongst ourselves.
They certainly do. If you could send a clear message to Dan Andrews about the appalling state in which he is governing, what would you say to him?
We can see what you're doing, and if you think you're going to get away with this, and it's not just you, there's a cabal that's doing it, we're coming for you, and more are rising, more are waking up.
They certainly are. We need everybody out here in droves, having their voice heard, power restored back to the people.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Are
you planning on marching at all, like moving? Or
I'm going nowhere.
gathering?
So joining me is John, who has delivered powerful speeches, sending out this important message that we will not tolerate the tyranny. Thank you for joining me, John.
Lovely, a pleasure, young Jeff. Now listen, what are we going to do about all this nonsense? I think most people who are probably listening to you now realise it's a total 100% nonsense. In other words, it's a scamdemic, and it's affecting the lives of the young people, losing their jobs, and it's benefiting the people at the top. Putting it in very simple terms, it's a conspiracy. As John F. Kennedy said, we are ruled by a conspiracy, and he was backed up by the previous president. What was his name? President Eisenhower. They both said the same thing. Now, the point is, the media, which you and I are having to deal with, is totally corrupt. They won't have a debate, and between those doctors who believe it's a total scam, the whole thing, and they've got medical evidence to back it up. We know all this. There's piles of evidence. And what worries me is that there are so many Australians who seem to be a bit like sheep. They don't seem to realise to face up to the actual facts of the matter. And even if they think there is a coronavirus, which there isn't actually, medically speaking, there isn't, but I mean, if they believe it is, well then, why aren't they asking the media to have a debate between those two points of view so they can make up their minds as to whether they're dealing with it? But of course, the media, which is only it's an agent of the 1%, the people who are conspiring to control us. It's all a question of control, and it's all a question of not only controlling our money. They don't want us to have money. They don't want us to have land. I mean, this is all set out in what's called the reset. I mean, they're even talking about it. They don't
Exactly. The Great Reset, the New World Order. That's a very accurate description of what's taking place now. Is it a lack of common sense? Is it people not using proper logic? They haven't woken up to this scam, this elaborate charade that's been rolled out. The writing's on the wall. 99% of people survive, but still they implement these restrictions, lockdowns.
It suits the people at the top, because what it's doing is it's making the people fearful, and it's making the people, they have to wear masks on their faces, which they lose their identity, and they have to keep 6 feet. I should be 6 feet apart from you. The whole basis is to divide and conquer the people, and at the moment they're succeeding, and we have to do everything in our powers to try and get everybody to see that that's what they're being used. They're being laughed at, actually, and they're being ridiculed by the people at the top. They're doing very well, thank you very much. That's what they want. But they don't have empathy And people don't understand that these people are actually psychopaths. Now, that sounds very dramatic, I know, but a psychopath is simply someone who doesn't have empathy and can bring about the slaughter of thousands of people, like in the many wars we've had. We had the last war was against Iraq. It was called the weapons of mass destruction, as you know. It was a total lie. But the sheep in Australia seem to think, they don't ask the question, has the government stopped lying? Because in my lifetime, I've been lied to at least a dozen times on very big issues. I mean, come on. How many times are you going to be lied to before you realise this?
Exactly. It's habitual lying. That's the character types that we're dealing with. Plus, they're linked in with secret societies, and what happens behind the scenes, it's all very much cloak and dagger. Now, a lot of the figures that they're releasing, the cases have all been inflated. The tests are not to be trusted whatsoever. The whole thing has been dragged into disrepute. We need action right away. Now, February is when they announced that the vaccine will be implemented. A lot of people are going to suffer immensely either way, whether they go ahead with this or whether they refuse. They're going to impose drastic measures to make sure people comply, won't they?
Yes, well, as you say, Jeff, they keep on producing figures which are false and to convince the people, lying ones. But the funny thing is this, is that even the figures that they produce which are true, the CDC put out a factual statement that the death rate from 2020 is basically the same as 2019. In other words, where is this deadly virus taking place? But they admit it. They actually put out the figures truthfully. And what do the sheep do? The sheep don't take any notice of them, which proves that the whole thing is a scam. I mean, I don't know. I begin to wonder whether we should give up. I mean, are we worth saving?
Well, those are valid questions, but it feels some people have been lulled into a false sense of security. They're not taking action like they should. Now, we've seen people in retirement villages denied the right to see families. This is absolutely heartbreaking. What's your take on that?
Well, it would suit the 1% actually for these old people to be killed off anyway. It would suit them because, I mean, do people realise that the whole plan is to cull the population anyway? I mean, we've got people like Gates, so that's his policy, is to reduce the population. He's been found out to do this on ghastly experiments in India on people. I mean, the man's a psychopath, for crying down the sink. And this World Health Organisation, with a president there, what's his name, Tedros or something or another, he's an Ethiopian crook. I mean, I don't know. How do we get the message through? Can we encourage people to do very simple things? Okay, come to protests, I agree, but please put a little message somewhere on your body. You don't get into an argument with people. You walk down the street into the supermarket with a message saying, like something like me, that it's a ridiculous situation and it's a scamdemic or it's a load of lies. Just the word lies will bring people attention to the fact that they're being lied to. Anything simple, obey and submit. That's what they wanted us to do. They wanted to put masks on us and cover us up and make us inhuman. We can't even touch each other. We can't even hug each other. We've got to keep distances. The whole idea is to divide and conquer. And unfortunately, as I say, at the moment it looks like they're not doing badly. But I think the fight's around about 40-60. I think the 40 at the moment is the good guys, and I think the 60 is the bad guys. So, and putting it in simple terms. So, let's all get together, love one another, smile at one another, and laugh at this bloody stupid, ridiculous scam.
Yes, you're projecting a lot of positivity and words of wisdom. That's exactly right. We need more people getting out amongst it. Flyers, leaving them in letterboxes, do whatever you can, whatever you're capable of. People of all ages should be uniting and joining together, fighting for freedom, because this is not acceptable whatsoever. And you stated Bill Gates, absolutely, eugenics, on the board of Planned Parenthood, his parents, he openly talks about depopulation. They fantasize about this. They want to wipe out people, and they've found the weapon of choice to do it. And they're rolling that out now. We see people collapsing after receiving the shot. It's devastating. We have to take all measures necessary to protect ourselves, and they're not out for the best interests of people's health. The masks are a sign of control.
Can I come in here and say, please don't call it a vaccine injection. Please call it a violence injection, because it is a violent injection into your bloodstream that they want to put in there. I mean, I could go on all day about it, but I mean, it's obvious that it's dangerous to the health. It's being shown to be dangerous to their health, but unless we submit ourselves, unless we acquiesce to what's going on, learn the wonderful word no. Don't cooperate. Don't acquiesce to their demands in any way at all, and speak out as well in a very humble, in a very simple way. Don't become violent. Just express on your person what you believe, and this will help swing the tide.
Yes.
I should say. Yes.
You're very passionate about what's taking place. It's very reassuring to see. Thank you very much for your participation today.
Jeff.
I look forward to seeing you again. Thank you.
Later.
It is. Because we're a country in distress. You see, a country in distress, and we're under its military occupation.